Hello everyone, I hope everyone is having a great day. I just want to start making a little bit more videos and I'm trying something new out. I have got now a document camera that I'm going to be using so that I can project what I'm doing on my piece of paper on the camera, while I can also talk to you about what I'm doing on this piece of paper. So I'm hoping that this works as a different method for me to make videos. And if it does, we'll probably continue doing this for the remainder of the year, throughout the year. Yeah, I want some feedback on seeing if this is working or not. So please send me an email once you watch this video to see if this is working and if this is better than what I have for my daily greetings, or if this is about the same or a little bit better or worse. So just give me some feedback about if you like document camera work over a Zoom video work. Okay. So to give you some a little bit of bad news on your quiz, there is one proof on here on parallelograms. However, the one proof that is on here is a little bit easier than the one I'm giving you on this one today in this video, because this video has a 7-step proof, while the other one on the quiz is only 4 steps. And it gives you about half of the proof it gives you your statements, and you just have to figure out the reasonings for those statements. Okay? But I felt like it was important for us to do an example before I just kind of give you one on your quiz. So if we're given that E is a midpoint of AC, so E is the midpoint of AC, does not say anything about E being the midpoint of D, only E being the midpoint of AC. Okay? So we know that. So actually I'm going to mark that on my page. I'm going to say, okay, AE and EC are midpoints, is the midpoint. And I also know that angle EAD is congruent to angle ECB. So this angle here and this angle here are congruent. Okay, and we need to prove that this is a parallelogram given that this is true and this is true. Okay? So, with that, statement one is, we already know that. If you get this point wrong on your test, it might be because we haven't done proofs in a while. But statement ones we know is always are given. So we are given that E is the midpoint of AC, and angle EAD is congruent to angle ECB. Again, that is given to us. We know that because that is given. Okay? From there, and I've kind of already preemptively done that, and I did that in red, so I'm going to actually color code this in red so you can kind of match up the color coding with what I put on the picture. But from here, we know that, okay, well, because E is the midpoint, we know that AE, that length, is congruent to EC. And we know that because that is the definition of a midpoint. Okay, I'm going to put this on this side too, so it kind of match up the colors. Okay, so AE and EC, those two are congruent because we know E is the midpoint of this parallelogram. Okay, from there, we have to remember, okay, well, I have other angle relationships here besides this angle and this angle. I also know, and I'm going to do this in green, that this angle here and this angle here are congruent. These two are congruent. And I want to kind of make you guys think, okay, why are these two congruent? Why is that? So let's put that on there first while I let you guys think. Angle AED is congruent to angle CEB. We know that these two angles are congruent. And let's see if you have it right. The reason for that is those are vertical angles. So vertical angles congruence theorem. So those are vertical angles. And again, I'm going to color code this in green. It's kind of hard to see the 3 now, but Though step 3 is it's the vertical angles congruence theorem. Okay? I don't know if you can see that with my picture in the way, but I put vertical angles congruence theorem. There we go. Okay? At this point, what we notice is I now have enough information. To say that, well, oops, sorry, I don't want to mess this up too much. But I can say that this triangle and this triangle here, the top one and the bottom one, these two triangles are now congruent. Triangle AED is congruent to triangle CEB. That is because we have the side angle congruence. We have an angle, side angle. Whoops, you can't see that. Sorry. You have angle, side, side angle, angle, side angle. That tells me that these two triangles are congruent. And that really helps us because now it's step 5. Well, now I know that because these two triangles are congruent, that ED and EB are congruent. ED and EB are congruent. So I'm going to say side length ED is congruent to side length EB. That is because, and again, if we have congruent triangles, kind of as a review, that is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. CPCTC. And at this point, now I have enough to say, well, okay, I'm going to make this orange and say, okay, ED is congruent to EB. Make that orange. And now I have pretty much enough to say that this is a parallelogram, but I'm going to make a kind of a statement to explain it. I can say, okay, well now E is midpoint of AC and BD. And the reason why we know that that's true is that is or not really a midpoint, but it bisects it, midpoint / bisects. I guess it's the same thing. And that is the definition. You could say definition of, definition, I can't spell. You could say either midpoint, or I'm going to just say bisector for this one. Bisector. God, I can't spell today. Bisector. So it's the definition of the bisector. That tells me that E bisects both this segment and this segment. And if we notice this, is that this segment AC and this segment BD, those are both diagonals of that parallelogram. And so because E is the midpoint or bisects both AC and BD, both of those diagonals, that's enough for me to say that ABCD is a parallelogram. And if you look in our book, or if you look in the notes, that came from theorem 8.10, which said that if a quadrilateral has the quality that the diagonals meet together at that bisector of both, then it's a parallelogram. So because both diagonals BD and AC meet at point E, because those diagonals meet at point E and point E bisects both of those two, that tells me that that is a parallelogram. That was theorem 8.10. Okay? So this told me that ABCD is a parallelogram. So we got our proof done. That is 7 steps. Okay? And remember, the theorem that's going to be on your quiz is going to be a lot easier than this because, again, it's only 4 steps. It tells you all of your statements minus 1, but it's just the one I know you guys can get. And you just need to do your justifications, and one of those justifications is pretty easy. Hint, hint. Given. Okay? And to kind of help you out a little bit more, too, I also have some other helpful theorems that are good to know. One is you should probably know your theorems about isosceles triangles, because this one does deal with isosceles triangles. Now, one theorem that I think is really good to look back over is the base angles theorem. A really good, and other isosceles triangle theorems. But base angles theorem was one of those that I'm kind of hinting you towards to say, hey, this is kind of what I mean when I say isosceles triangles theorems. 2, another good kind of subcategory of theorems to look at is kind of those basic theorems. So one of them would be like the reflexive property, symmetric property, transitive property, etc. All of those theorems that we had in chapter 2 very early on. These are the ones that you're going to want to relook at over, because hint, you might have to use one of these basic theorems to use. And then lastly, you probably should know your theorems of parallelograms, which is like section 8.2 and 8.3, not so much section 8.1. And again, an example of that would be like saying theorem 810, which was saying that this was true. So you might have to use theorems like theorem 810 to kind of help you prove what we need to prove for our proof on Monday. So if you have any questions about this theorem, please let me know. And again, please tell me which one you prefer. If you prefer to have the videos that I posted for my daily greetings, or if you'd prefer to have this document camera more often to let me know, hey, this is what I like to do, and this is a little bit better of recording. So please email me what you prefer, and let me know if you have any questions about this proof or the proof that's going to be on your quiz. Yeah, so have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.